The quinto partido, or from my somewhat fluent acumen of the Spanish language, the barrier of the fifth game, is a term thrown around by many Mexican fans and even football fans in general. But what exactly is its history? Well, to cut a long and monotonous explanation short, the term refers to the fifth game in regards to the World Cup quarterfinal, a threshold which the Mexican team has failed to enter not once, not twice, not thrice, but 7 times. Yes, you heard me right, 7 times. Look it up. As I was saying, the Mexican team has failed in their round of 16 matches 7 consecutive times, with the last time they entered the quarterfinal being the World Cup of 1986 in their home country. But with many talents in the squad now, and multiple players signaling a rise in domestic football, some have stopped to question if 2022 will be the year that Mexico will finally break their World Cup curse. In today's video, I plan to settle the question once and for all. Does Mexico really have the potential to finally get rid of the curse of the fifth game in the 2022 World Cup? Before we get started, a quick reminder to like and share the video, as well as a humble request to subscribe to the channel. To be honest, there isn't much in it for you, but if you like the content, then why not? With the growing subscriber count, I feel more and more motivated to expand the channel to greater heights and roll out higher quality content for the now 21 people who watch my videos. I guess I'm growing. But anyways, let's get started. If you were a Mexican football fan in the early 2000s, the future was probably something that you were really looking forward to, with players like Javier Chicharito Hernandez, the king of chip goals Carlos Vela, the next Ronaldinho Giovanni Dos Santos, and his brother Jonathan. No cool nickname for him. The team looked like they would prove to be a difficult challenge, standing in the way of any national side who dared to oppose them, but this wasn't exactly the case. Even after the uprising of this generation of amazing promise and the growth and accommodation of the players into their respective roles, they still haven't been able to overcome their World Cup jinx. But why is this? Well, to answer that question, we have to understand the roots of the quinto partido and the timeline behind the most infamous tale in World Cup history. We have to adequately know the place it all started. Well, it's kind of a long story, so here's a brief timeline of each and every World Cup failure. They had a good campaign in 1994 that was cut short in the round of 16. They lost 3-1 on penalties after drawing 1-1 in regulation with Bulgaria, but we can give them a pass because that was a year of economic and social turmoil for Mexico. Skip ahead 4 years to 1998, and Mexico has collected a total of 5 points in the group stage, drawing 2-2 against Belgium, beating South Korea 3-1 and tying 2-2 with the Netherlands. They go into the knockouts with vigor and eventually lose to Germany. But never mind as 2002 approaches. Mexico again shows promise in the group stage, drawing with Italy and beating Ecuador. On top of this, they secure a 1-0 victory against Croatia. But unfortunately, they end their campaign with a 2-0 loss to crosstown rivals, the good old United States of America. Mexico fans, if you think it's painful now, we aren't even halfway done yet. 2006 was kinda meh for this team. They lost to Portugal in their opening match and then beat Iran 3-1, but drew with Angola. How the hell? Their tournament of significantly lowered expectations came to a subtle and pitiful end with a 2-1 loss to an Argentina side who had a player regarded as the next Maradona. His name was Lionel Messi? I'm not sure if you've heard of him. Fast forward a couple of years to the 2010 World Cup. For a while it didn't seem like Mexico would make its way out of Group A, but they ended their group stage campaign with a bang and a 2-0 victory over the previous runners-up France. As fate would have it, they met their old buddies Argentina again in the knockouts and lost 3-1 to an inspired Albiceleste team. And plus that Messi guy was getting a little more popular by now. Okay, this is getting a little monotonous. Let's make things even faster. So basically 2014 was cool. Surprise, Mexico made it into the last 16 with wins against Croatia and Cameroon, as well as a 0-0 draw with Brazil. They entered a round of 16 match with a newly discovered passion and were determined to finally break the quinto partido. 90 minutes later, they were picking up the pieces of a loss to the Netherlands off the back of a questionable penalty. People cried, salt was thrown around, and moral genocide became an eternal norm. Let's skip over to the most entertaining arc in the timeline and the arc that I probably know best, 2018. The act of tirelessly toying with the emotions of 128 million people was hoped to be put to a stop. Javier Hernandez was a nightmare for opposing defenses in the Premier League, and a young Irving Lozano at striker who had racked up 4 goals in the qualifying campaign complemented him well on attack. They had experience in defense, and more often than not they were pitted against midfield mismatches. There was no explicit hype for them going into the World Cup, but some had faith that the quinto partido would finally be broken. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Mexico was placed against the tournament favorites and defending champions Germany, and in one of the biggest surprises of the tournament, they prevailed in a 1-0 victory thanks to Chucky. Wait, no. Chucky Lozano. Why does that nickname exist? The Mexico fans were elated. They cheered so hard post their team's historic victory that they even caused an artificial earthquake. But it's fine, guys. Mario Gomez says the German team will come back even stronger.
Counts! 2-0, that is it! Group, they've lost.
After finding a historic triumph from absolutely nowhere at the Luzhniki, Mexico secured knockout qualification with a convincing 2-1 victory against South Korea. But the highlight of the game was definitely the moment Heung-min Son got tired of acting like he wasn't the best player on the pitch and completely popped off for like 5 seconds. They also lost 3-0 to Sweden. Absolutely no red flags there. Of all teams to get drawn with in the last 16, the football gods didn't show any mercy on Mexico and placed them in a game against another tournament favorite in Brazil. It wasn't going to be easy, but these guys beat Germany, so I think they can pull it off.
Brazil score! Neymar, gotta be 2! Neymar!
You have got to be kidding me. My humble apologies to the entire collective Mexican population for the traumatic flashbacks. I know they can be too much sometimes. But hey, you can take solace in the fact that the San Marino football team exists. So while the Mexican fans are contemplating the saddening sensation known as life, let's take a look at why exactly this team has failed. Well, let's look at the obvious reason. The knockout stages of the World Cup are pretty hard. And if the average football fan looks at the Mexican team, they seem like a team that is never consistent or predictable, which are 2 qualities that a squad with aspirations must have. It's important to keep in mind that when I say predictability, I mean in terms of the types of goals you get, not in terms of the playing styles and methodologies. Mexican coach Juan Carlos Osorio told Goal, "The reality is when you go beyond the group stage, you are going to face better teams, and the challenge is to attack those types of teams the same way we play against smaller teams." But former Mexican goalkeeper Osvaldo Sanchez, a man whose playing days were overshadowed by the quinto partido, would beg to differ. I think part of it is a lack of concentration. Maybe important players in the team lost their concentration. I say that because in France in 1998, we were winning 1-0 against Germany, and how did the Germans score 2 goals? Lapses of concentration, he told Goal in an interview. So multiple educated opinions believe that it is indeed hard once you get to the round of 16, but not out of the ability of the Mexican teams over the years. And for many, the solution to their underachievement is concentration. But in reality, the one main thing that has intensified the quinto partido is, well, the quinto partido itself. Let me explain. Most of the football fans watching already know about the so-called curse of the 5th game. And this is because it is a term that's thrown around so often and is used by many Mexican supporters. With each and every passing World Cup, the words become more and more prevalent, adding so much unnecessary pressure on the Mexican side to produce something and finally get rid of the mental jinx. It affects their thinking and makes them lose focus on the goal of a major tournament being to simply win as many matches as you can. The similitude of their thinking has been breached by these so-called curses and jinxes. On top of this, the internet forums and platforms as well as news sites and press reporters add extra heat. By now, almost unsurmountable pressure is placed on the backs of the players. Former player turned author Imanol Ibarondo told SB Nation, "The 5th game is not any type of barrier. All they need is the goal to write their own story." Really, it is like I said, he tells Goal in a brief chat at the Rose Bowl. It's not about thinking about the 5th game. It is about thinking about the 1st game. So can Mexico turn things around and finally get rid of this particular mental liability? Absolutely. But it comes down to acting on their potential. and it'll take a little bit more time to see if these young players are ready to step into their roles as leading figures and how they can perform when the lights are in their eyes. Maybe if not in Qatar 2022, the 2026 World Cup is coming up as well, and many believe that they could almost certainly hit the quinto partido in this period of time. Many are overlooking this year's World Cup and viewing 2026 as a major opportunity for the Mexicans, especially with the fact that they will be a co-host of the tournament for the first time since Diego Maradona lifted the trophy at the Azteca in 1986. With the developmental status of the Mexican Football Federation, the future seems very bright for El Tricolore. Who knows, we might even see them lift their first World Cup soon. Well, another video complete. That's it for this week's volume. Tune in next week to learn about the sad downfall of one of the potential greats of Italian football. This is me, signing off. Until next time.